Hi everyone, and happy to be here once again at Latokan VC TV. I'll be moderating the show today. It's called Investment Opportunities in India. First, I would like to introduce myself. I was in Singapore and Jakarta for 15 years in investment banking. I had my own family office fund there. This is my seventh year back in India. I did investments, then I went back to advisory. Currently, I'm connected with 300 investors globally. We pick up global deals. I've given 160 plus talks all over the world, and I'm selected as the top 10 women leaders in Wealth Management 2021 by Women Entrepreneurs magazine in India. Apart from this, my brand comes under the top 10 women entrepreneurs brand. Coming to today's topic, firstly, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists. Let's start with Raghu. Hi, Raghu. Nice to meet you. And I'm moderating today, so happy to moderate you guys. Could you kindly introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, Vandana. Pleasure to be on this show always, and nice that you could moderate us as well. So I'm Raghu Rao, angel investor, strategic advisor, and serial entrepreneur from Princeton, New Jersey. I've also been doing cross-border investments with India and Southeast Asia. I'm operating partner, also an advisor for the enablement platform for two funds out of India. One is has Singapore presence as well. I think the Indian startup market and investments have changed a lot in the last year. I think so. It will be great to discuss with this panel.
Thank you, Raghu. Pleasure to have you here. Hi, Gary. Very good morning to
Hi.
you.
I
And
can't I can't see anybody, but I see myself. I don't know if you can see me.
we guys can see you.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh, so, could you kindly introduce yourself, Gary?
Yeah, sure. My name's Gary Fowler. It's great to be here. I'm actually sitting in a cafe in Palm Beach, Florida right now. But I've done 17 companies and I've been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team at Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. And also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. Love artificial intelligence and quantum computing. I've now written 163 articles over the last 19 months, and I've done over 700 podcasts. I will be speaking again, if you get a chance, tune in at the United Nations about technology as a tool for peace on October 1st. So check it out. I am the CEO, president, co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley. Great to be here.
Thank you, Gary. Always pleasure to meet you. Hi, Harsh. Nice to see you after a very long time. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hey Vandana, glad to be back and glad to have Raghu, Gary, and Anuj on the panel. Just a short intro about myself. My name is Harsh Shetia. I'm a venture partner with our Ventures, and additionally, I'm also the founder of Startup Hackers. I help early stage startups at right from pre-Series A, Series A, Series B funding, as well as help them with strategic growth partnerships to help them expand and grow their business through business development and growth collaborations as well. So, looking forward to a great panel today. Thank you so much.
Happy to have you here. Hi, Anuj. Nice to see you after really, really long. Kindly introduce yourself to the audience. You are on mute, Anuj.
Yeah, great seeing you again, Vandana. Always a pleasure to be here. So, quickly introducing myself, serial entrepreneur, started 3 startups in the last 10 years. Took an exit from the most recent one in 2018, post that working on this organization called Yellow Sapphire Technologies, where we work with early stage organizations and early stage founders to help them build their product, make them market ready, and then make them investor ready. Working across the globe right now. So we are working in India, UAE, United States, Australia, practically trying to expand our presence everywhere. And yeah, lovely seeing you again.
Yeah, thank you for coming here, Anuj, and giving us your precious time. So, coming to today's panel, I would like to understand from each one of you, how has the investment landscape of India changed over time? I'll start with Gary because he has to leave early. So, Gary, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so you look at it and it's really a burgeoning opportunity. Over 1 billion people, incredible technology minds, a fervor for entrepreneurship. I mean, it's really the right stuff, the right chemistry for success. So, how's it changed over time? Well, I mean, I remember actually when I built a tool, a software development tool, long dating myself now, back in the late 90s. So, it was really an offshore outsource development, but it's changed because now there's those same incredible minds that have developed the software outsourcing have now turned the tables and moved in different environments. So for artificial intelligence, quantum computing. So how's it change? It's just, India is open for business. It's a great opportunity. And I've said this for a long time. As I said, we've been there quite a long time. And we see it as really, this next Silicon Valley-like opportunity. So we're excited about it. Very excited.
Great. Raghu, since you have invested a lot and, I would like to understand what are your thoughts on the same thing, the same question. How has the landscape changed in investments in India?
Yeah, I want to echo Gary a little bit. I think it's a great opportunity. Although what I see now is more companies that are going after the Indian market, which are becoming unicorns and successful. I think that was important because the export only kind of expansion model wasn't. It's good for certain types of business models, but not for everything. But now, since there's enough of a critical mass and the population to support, and they have a lot of needs, and the business models that are targeting the Indian market itself, I think are becoming successful, which I see as a maturing of the Indian kind of the startup early stage scene. So that's what I'm seeing. There's so many unicorns, although the valuations are not quite going to the next level. Some of the ones that are successful in the same spaces, the valuations, there are a lot of mimicking of things that have been successful, as opposed to, I think there should be focus on actually solving market needs.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you for answering that. And Harsh, what are your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, so definitely we are seeing a lot of activity happening in terms of fundraising. But if you, kind of look at it in the deeper level, most of them are like Series B and beyond, right? In terms of the number of unicorns and all those other deals which are happening. What I am seeing is in the earlier stages, the funding has kind of dried up a little, and there needs to be more focus on that, because only if we can provide startups in the support in the earlier stages, at the seed stage like 100K to 200K to 50K, 500K, at that level, only then we'll have startups at the next level who can further raise a Series A, Series B kind of round, right? That's where I'm feeling there is a current gap in the market right now, which is what is required to kind of fill at this moment, at this point of time.
Great. Anuj, what are your thoughts on the same? Since you've also done a lot of investments, especially in the healthcare sector.
See, I've been on both sides of the aisle. I've seen things as a founder, I've seen things as an investor. And to me personally, I feel that India is what US was in 1999. We are practically ready to party like it's 1999, because as Gary said, there are over 1.3 billion people. The middle class income is practically exploding. The talent that had been working on other organizations are now finding ways to build their own product, to build their own amazing technologies. And that's showing its impact. There are people that are working on pay packages which have practically been unheard of. And all of that is booming that middle class income. So the reason why foreign investors want to pour their money into India is not because it's an unexplored market, but it's a market that's practically exploding right now. Every economy goes through various phases. So what India used to be in 99 can now be seen in Nigeria and other African countries. Likewise, what US used to be in 99 can now be seen in India. And I think if things go right, and then as we get more support from foreign investors, from government organization, and then if the global scenario stays positive, we can very well see an impact where India will accelerate at a pace never before seen.
I totally agree with all the panelists here. But I also have some thoughts which I would like to share. I feel that 2021 has been a very, very phenomenal year for Indian startups and investments. There has been an addition of about 3 startups every month to the Unicorn Club this year, and they have raised about $26 billion, and there are many more to come. The country has seen its first health tech, social commerce, e-pharmacy, cryptocurrency unicorns in 2021. In fact, 2 days ago, a hiring startup from India called Apna reached $1 million valuation within just 21 months of its inception. And along with these investments, there have been IPOs by several popular startups like Zomato, Nykaa, and Paytm. Everyone is surprised but also elated, by the increasing numbers and pace of these investments, which I see in India is very fresh, young, and a buzzing market. And there are several interesting opportunities that India has in terms of investments. Coming to my second question, Gary, I would like to ask you, what unicorns has India seen in the recent times? I mean, I hope, you would also know about some of the great unicorns.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Vandana, we're really working on creating those unicorns. So I'm not looking at what's out there today. I'm looking about who's going to be there tomorrow. So the key is really curating. It's like planting the seeds in the springtime, going out there and curating those companies to create those next unicorns. And as I said, what I'm particularly interested in fact, right after this, I'll be in one of those panels in India, is really where can we find the next one? Because if we look at how the world's changing with all the challenges we have in front of it, whether it's global warming, population increase, the good news of population is 1.3 billion in Africa. But by the end of this century, our population around the planet will go from 8 billion to 13. We got a lot of challenges in front of us. So what I'm looking at is how to create those next companies. There have been a lot of unicorns that have been that have come out of India recently, but we're looking at how we can curate a whole lot more. When you got 1.3 billion people and technology, incredible technology expertise, what we want to do is find those next ones. So that's what the mission of GST is.
That's really, really awesome mission of GST, and I'm glad that you're looking at a larger picture. Raghu, coming to you, I just wanted to know what unicorns have you seen in India in the recent times? I mean, what are your thoughts, continuing to Gary's thoughts here?
I'm a little bit like Gary. See, I look
Okay.
at very early stage opportunities that have big impact. I'm not so much focused on unicorn valuation. I want to get them there. The real unicorns that we look at are more from kind of valuation perspective, which actually skew it a little bit because as I think Harsh was talking about, the early stage is not, getting as much attention. I mean, all the big names like, Byju's, everybody wants to talk about the ones that, have kind of broken through, right? So
Yeah.
it's more of, I'm really focused on what can make a big impact in the Indian market. So I think edutech, has seen obviously a lot of, lot of things once Byju started and Vedantu and a few others now. So my focus is more on the kind of the biomedical device areas as well as on the cybersecurity and things like that. I have not seen as much happening on the cybersecurity and that kind of front. Biomedical, yes, I think on the healthcare side there's been a lot of activities. Again, I have some analysts who kind of look at it's primarily from kind of valuation metrics setting, but I don't really, it starts the, if you look at the unicorns, I think they're like more, I think the exception rather than the rule. For every unicorn, there's 10 that haven't made it. So I'm really focused on that area. So.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and Harsh, what are your thoughts on the same? What are the
Yes.
unicorns that you have seen in the recent times?
So definitely I'm in touch with a few of them, like Farm Easy and a few others which I'm already in touch with. I'm familiar with the kind of journey that they've had. On an average, it takes like five years to become a unicorn. Obviously there are some exceptions like Udan and Apna you kind of highlighted, right? But it's extremely important to kind of realize that that the trend which these guys kind of started, it's about to an end, right? So even though it's good for us to see as an outside what these guys are doing, as new upcoming founders, what we need to look at is what is the current problem right now and what we can do differently to solve that problem, right? What unfortunately is happening is at the earlier stages we get a lot of pitches which are very similar to the existing businesses, and they say if that company's gotten funding, that company's grown well, even we can grow well, right? It doesn't work that way. The idea is to look at the existing companies and then figure out how you can do it differently, and that is where the true differentiation is going to be, true innovation is going to be, right? If you're so that's why I kind of always make it a point to say the founders, by the time startups are always depending on trends, right? By the time you hear about the trends in the newspapers, you're already too late. You need to be the one who's creating the trend and riding the trend before anyone else has seen it, right? Just like the edutech, just like health tech and all those other things. Create something different and then you can kind of get the benefit out of that. And as Gary and Raghu also alluded to, I typically work at pre-series A to series A level, very rare cases series B level. And at that point of time, our job is primarily to kind of ensure that these guys are sustainably taken it to the next level before the private equity players can take over.
Yeah, I totally agree here as well. Anuj, what do you feel about the unicorns in India? And do you know of any unicorns in India?
Touchwood, I think I've been fortunate enough to know all of them in person. I know all of their founders, and I've seen the incredible hard work that they have put in as well. So, yeah, my journey as a founder, I think it's been amazing. Those were some amazing guys who have worked their ass off, who have built something amazing, and I have a slightly different take here. See, when it comes to $1 billion valuation, we all lose sight of what's important. That magical number of 1 billion, it's so enticing to us that we forget sight of the fact that even at a 1 billion level, those organizations are not just startups anymore. They have entered a phase where now they're making investment themselves as well. They are part of that ecosystem where they can themselves nurture other organizations, bring them to the next level. And then seeing how rapidly the time it used to take to go from 0 to 1 billion has dropped in the last decade, it's a good sign. But at the same time, let's not overhype that number. At the end of the day, the goal for every business is that I want to make something amazing. I want to make something that creates value for its users. And when you do that, regardless of whatever the valuation is, you have built something amazing. And then that's going to go with you in the long run.
I agree with you. If you build something with hard work, it has to go with you long run. And I think we should look at the long term picture, like Gary said. I myself, as an investment banker, I have seen the herd mentality. So in all over the world, not just India, if one person is going for IPO, everybody will go. If one person is investing in a particular type of a company, everybody would follow. Nobody wants to do unique investments, like Raghu mentioned, cybersecurity, biomedicals. So I agree with.
There's a reason for it, Vandana. There's a reason for it. I wouldn't really call it herd mentality, right? Everything has a right time and a right place. So if you saw a huge explosion in teleconsulting companies, that's not because everyone is being a herd mentality user. It's because, hey, COVID has made it a great business opportunity. Now, of course, there are going to be some that are going to lead the pack, that'll capture the market share the most, while others will sort of fall off the radar. And then that's the case here as well. If everyone's going for an IPO, it's not because of a herd mentality, but because it's the right time where regulation have changed, and then you sort of have that investor pressure. SoftBank wants their exit. So I see it slightly differently. You don't make trends. Harsh was saying that one organization starts something and then others come up and say, hey, we can be successful in this as well. It's not because that became a trend that came in the news, but it's because it's the right time for that thing.
Okay. So Gary, what are the risks involved, in investing in India, or the challenges that you see, being in Silicon Valley when you have to do these investments? Or is Gary there? Raghu, could you also answer that question by the time Gary gets back? I think Gary has lost the connection here.
Sure. I think the biggest risk is, I think, having not having a local presence. It's very important because the way the dynamics are a little different. I think the regulatory process is a little different. I think the hiring process and retention, attrition, everything is different. So having a strong local presence, at least good advisors, is extremely important in the early stages anyway. And nowadays, I think things have become global, especially in the tech industry. So somebody who understands, depending on the market you're going after, so the advisory team, I think, is most important to mitigate the risks from that perspective. I think still, although startups have done extremely well in India, it's still like the incentives from the government could be a lot better. Like, for instance, in New Jersey here, we have this tax credit, which is 20% for global investor, and an additional 5% if you're a woman-owned company or like minority or from what they call opportunity zones, which have been identified for economic development. So those kind of things would help bring global investment, which compared to some of the other countries, India with its potential should be much higher. And I hope in fact, Prime Minister Modi is visiting the US this week.
Wow.
It's more of the Quad, which is actually another opportunity which might bring more opportunities in manufacturing sector, because India is being positioned as the manufacturing quarter of the Quad. This is kind of I think, given the issues that happened with China during the pandemic, I think they're trying to balance it a little bit. So that manufacturing sector is another I think big opportunity where the government is actually supportive. But I think the government should be supporting not just the manufacturing sector, but across the board with incentives for investment, because a lot of the times the early stage investment makes the difference between what kind of professional team you can get on the board, because the ideas are great, but the initial kind of getting it to that MVP stage requires good talent. So that's, I think, the biggest thing I see.
Yeah, I agree with you. Harsh, what do you think about this? What are the challenges? What are the risks?
Could you help me with the question again, please?
What are the challenges or risks in investing in India? What are the challenges or risks?
Got it. So unfortunately, Raghu covered most of the points which I was going to discuss. So a few things which I would like to add on the side is what is usually happening is, so I'm in touch with a few companies right now, right? What tends to happen is the corporate jobs, they tend to be very well paying. Compared to that, people then kind of wonder whether it's worth it to kind of invest in a startup at the early stage, right? And is it worth it to make the founders jump? That is where the point where Raghu mentioned, right? The kind of tax credits and tax benefits and all that goes a long way. Not just New Jersey, there are lots of other states. Canada has started a startup visa program. I know Germany is doing a lot of interesting things. Germany provides free co-working spaces, free state investment as well. Even UK does that, right? So all of that is required. So what tends to happen is, the investors in India tend to be very spooked very easily. Just in fact, last weekend I was having a call with one investor, and they were thinking of getting an exit within 1 year to 18 months. Right. The fact is, a startup investment is a long-term game. It cannot happen within such a short amount of time. So that kind of risk averseness is required, and that kind of risk-taking willingness is required for the startup to kind of really take it to the next level. For the investors to invest in the startup to take it to the next level, because unless that happens, it's going to be very difficult for the startup ecosystem. So that is why we need a lot of liberalization of the policies. The current problem is because of a lot of other systemic problems within the country, the government is very spooked and taking this very cautiously. But at the same time, it is required to take some ambitious steps in these areas, rather than taking those slow, cautious steps in the current segment right now.
Yeah. Anuj, since you are also in India, what do you think are the risks involved or the challenges, for investing in India? Like, say somebody from Silicon Valley or UK or Singapore, what are the risks involved?
I'll address the challenges first. So for someone who's coming from US to India, one of the biggest difference that they're going to see is the difference in valuation. The purchase power parity brings in a major drop in the valuation. So I did my grad from US. I was at University of Michigan. And from there to my startup in India, you can practically see a 5 to 10x valuation different. And then that difference comes simply from the fact of that purchase power parity and the government support. Echoing the similar point as I said by the two panelists before, that the opportunity cost to start something in India right now is massive. We are still an economy that had a very low income middle class that is now trying to get out of that poverty zone, going in from low income to a level where they can have a sustainable, comfortable life. And at that level, the opportunity cost for anyone, be it a tech guy or the business guy in that organization, to quit that stable income, move to a startup, take risk, hustle, get work done, get shit done. That's too big of a risk. Without a safety net, a lot of people would not want to take it, and that's the reason why a lot of people don't, because they are still going in from that level where they barely had anything to survive on. They were at the bottom of the pyramid. So instead of focusing on building that safety net, taking that leap of faith is what's scary for them. And until and unless that opportunity cost stays high, you're gonna continue to see that same trend where, yeah, a lot of people want to start something. A lot of people have some good ideas, but they're still a bit risk averse. They might be willing to start an early stage organization if they are paying good enough, but they might not want to do it themselves. Hopefully, as the market matures, as the middle class matures and then build that safety net for themselves, you're going to see a lot more in the next 10 to 20 years. Like I said, we were still partying like it's 99. So I think let's give people some chance, and then hopefully within the next 10 years, they'll get to a point where all of the glamour that comes with someone saying, hey, I'm working on a startup, will go away, and it will be just another thing where, oh yeah, he's just taking a risk and then sort of trying to build something amazing.
Raghu, what is your advice that you would like to give to the investors in India, since you are an investor yourself?
Yeah, I think the important thing to look from investment perspective is the team. I think a lot of times the team doesn't have balance. I mean, there is if they have holes in the team, then they should be having a proper advisory board, some way to cover all the aspects of a business. I think that is the first thing I would look at. Second is to see if people are all in. Sometimes what happens is because of the safety net issues that Anuj was talking about, people kind of doing things on the side without, really being in it, which, I don't blame them, but that is not very good for the business because, it's not getting the full attention. So that is another thing. And then, of course, there are sometimes, some scam artists who are looking to get in, get out. So I really look for a team that is, in it for the long term and is not just kind of looking at it only from the investment. The return perspective. The financial return is important, but also are they solving a real problem, and how much are they dedicated to making it happen? The passion. So I would look for those things.
Yeah. Nice. I also look for those things in an investor, like you mentioned. Harsh, so since you are engaged with a lot of startups, what is your advice for startups in India?
So my number one advice would be, look at the problem which you're solving, right? As I mentioned earlier as well, I'm seeing a lot of the thing is I get so many emails, so many LinkedIn messages, right? I'm seeing a lot of kind of repetition of the existing businesses itself, right? I'm not seeing that kind of unique concept which kind of we watch this and it goes, it creates a light bulb in your mind that yes, this is something different, this is something phenomenal, right? So that is what I would want to recommend a lot of startups. It's like less than 10% of the startups which come across, which come to me, have that kind of a true differentiation over there, right? So that is why I would recommend, as Raghu was pointing out, unless you do it full time, you cannot kind of commit to it fully. But at the same time, if you're doing something which has already been done before, you're simply trying to do it with slight incremental difference, it's not that great. And then you've taken the risk, but the output is never going to be big because it's not that impressive. That's why it's extremely important, only get into the startup journey once you're truly confident that it's going to make it. At the same time, you have that deep industry expertise which you can bring to the table, right? So for me, that is the number one thing, right? When I look at a founding team, so on an average with the kind of people which I'm working, they have at least like 15 years of experience in the area which they're working in, right? So they have that deep sectoral expertise. They know what's working, they don't know what's not working. And based on that, for that specific problem, they focus on that and they, kick ass over there. So that is what, it's required. You need to bring that kind of depth of understanding. If you look at it completely from outside, completely from the different view, sometimes it may work, it may not work, it's a hit and a miss. But if you have that kind of deep expertise and at the same time that this is the right time to solve that specific problem, then it definitely goes a long way in terms of predicting the success of the startup. So that is what I kind of recommend the founders. Have something truly unique, something truly different, and focus on the painkillers rather than focusing on the vitamins.
Yeah. Anuj, for you, I have a slightly different question. Why should one invest in India? Or what factors or characteristics in India, in the current investment ecosystem make it suitable for investment opportunities?
Oh, it's a simple answer. Everything is sort of perfectly aligned for it. In simple terms, you have a country where sales tax are uniform across all stakeholders. You have a country where the talent is so amazing that they are practically known to match the level of all major countries. You have a country where you have a lot of English-speaking population who not only accept other cultures but fully embrace it. We are looking at a lot of places that are even celebrating Halloween in India. Come on, that's not in our culture, but still we accept it because it's fun. And then that all of that as a mix gives not only the right market for direct investors to make investments in early stage organization, but also to large scale organizations to come into India, build something amazing here. Amazon has invested billions of dollars in India, not because they wanted to get the word out or develop that market, but because they knew the market is ready. We just have to now organize it better and just capture that market share. And they did that fantastically well. So did Walmart, and so have a lot of other companies. PepsiCo, Coca-Cola still remains one of the biggest brands in the country right now. So that entire potential of middle class income booming is finally paying off its dividend. all the hard work done by the economists, by the policymakers since 1991 over the last 20 years is now finally paying its dividend. And then you are at a stage where things can only go up from here.
Coming to my last question, I would like to know, what are your closing thoughts, Raghu, for the show, and also which sectors, according to you, would you be likely best to invest in India, and also where one could reach out to you?
Sure. I think India, as Anuj and Harsh have been talking about, is a great opportunity. I think it is the right time. I mean, given the global circumstances and the young and talented population that is available, I think the key areas that I am looking at is healthcare. Because of the pandemic, I think acceptance of technology has is a barrier that was there before, which is, I think, fallen through. So the healthcare area, I think, is ripe for good investment. Manufacturing, because the government is going to support it, and there is a global need in terms of finding alternatives to China. I think that's another area. The edutech, because again, there's a huge population that is because of the pandemic is again being driven online. So I think these are and fintech, because everybody is going online again. So these are obviously globally as well as in India very big opportunities. And I think that there's a lot of money that is ready to be invested, but I think the risk aspects are what need to be considered, and I hope the government actually addresses some of those, both in terms of risk as well as incentives. I think both are important, and you can. I mean, I'm one of those who is also looking at a lot of opportunities on from a cross-border perspective in India as well as emerging Asia. I'm happy to talk to both sides, investors as well as startups, and you can reach me at Raghu S. Rao on LinkedIn. I really enjoyed the insights from the panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Raghu, for spending your precious time and coming here. And audiences, please reach out to Raghu on his LinkedIn handle. Harsh, what are your closing thoughts, and what do you feel are the hot sectors in India to get investments, and where could one reach out to you?
Sure. So definitely Raghu has covered most major sectors. Fintech is hot not just in India, across the world. Just look at what Nigeria is doing. It's absolutely phenomenal. Even Singapore is doing absolutely well in the fintech space, right? So fintech across the world, it's really booming, and we've seen a lot of growth in India itself. Just after the India Stack was launched in 2016-17, post that the growth in fintech in India has also been tremendous. So fintech is definitely number one. Then SaaS, health tech, all these sectors are very good. And obviously my personal favorite, medical devices. And so that is where my heart lies originally. So medical devices is always going to be one of my favorites as well. So these are some of the sectors which I like and like to work in, and especially medical devices. I would try to recommend Indian companies, to try and think global as quickly as possible, rather than trying to restrict themselves in India. So that would truly make it to the next level. So, and if any startup needs any help in terms of fundraising or help in growing the business, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm reachable at Harshetia, and would be happy to help you out. Thank you.
Anuj, the same question for you. What are your closing thoughts? Which are the hot sectors, and where could one reach out to you?
See, I'll simplify the points from Raghu and Harsh. Anything related to tech in India is hot right now. We are one of the biggest tech-based economy, and the talent that exists in the country that can work on, or the engineers that are here can work on practically everything. There are some really smart Indians that are out there in US that are building some amazing tech, and there are some amazing engineers who are building a great tech here as well. So yeah, anything that's related to tech that has my attention, be it blockchain, Internet of Everything, be it health tech, fintech, medtech. There has been such a huge underserved global population, which is now reaching at a 7.9 billion mark, that there was never an incentive for the legacy organizations to go after them. That underserved population has always remained a high risk low reward kind of proposition for them. But with the global scenario changing, new companies that are coming up realize the potential that they has to offer, and they are very much going after them. So my mantra for life: collaborate, don't compete. Any new organization coming up that's trying to collaborate with the legacy organizations, trying to build something that changes the industry fundamentally and serves a larger population, grows that market size even bigger, has my attention. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Anuj. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Anuj Chauhan. Fairly easy to find me. So yeah, anyone out there, would love to have a chat with you guys.
So, my closing thoughts are this boom that India has seen this year is expected to continue for the coming time. Now, India has about 63 unicorns, and at this rate, India would have about 100 unicorns by 2023. An interesting thing to note is that as unicorns become less and less rare for Indian startups, we should expect to see more and more, decacorns. So, thank you once again for your wonderful insights. I thoroughly enjoyed, moderating this panel, and I could be reached out on my LinkedIn handle or my website, www.convanto.com. And it was a pleasure to moderate all of you. Thank you once again, and bye-bye.
Bye bye.